My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And the purpose of today's video is to give you the market update for what's going on in the MatSu Valley. This continues to be a market that is very unique, and it kind of has some different internal rules and mechanisms to it than what we're going to see in other markets around the state. So this is definitely one to keep an eye on. Before we get started though, do make sure that you give this video a like. If you haven't done so already, do subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the market update for what's going on in the MatSu Valley, looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. Looking at the residential side in the MatSu Valley, what we see is that there were about 322 properties that were available on the market this time last year. In November, because that's the month where we have the most completed information. So 322, and what we see this time this year is that there's 313 properties on the market. So a little bit of a decrease in the active inventory, not a whole lot though. The next thing we need to look at is the number of properties that have actually sold in the MatSu Valley during this time frame. So this time last year, there were 174 properties that sold on the residential side. Now it's 187. So again, similar to the number of active properties on the market, we're seeing a little bit of a change there. In this case, it's going up. Not a huge astronomical world-shaking change though. The next thing I would point out is the average sold price in the MatSu Valley has dramatically increased, and it's not just for this month. You can see it back over the past year that it has significantly increased. The average sold price in November this time last year was about $325,000. Now it's sitting much closer to about $357,000. So it's a pretty sizable uptick, and it's about what we would expect, but we'll talk more about that in the summary. The next thing we're going to look at is the active inventory for what's going on in condos in the MatSu Valley. So I always kind of caveat the discussion about condos in the MatSu Valley by saying, hey, it's a much smaller market. It is probably going to grow over time. So I'm not trying to be tongue-in-cheek when I'm reporting these really small numbers. I'm not trying to be ironic. This is just what the market is right now. We are expecting it to increase though. So, well, that out of the way, this is what we're seeing. The active inventory for condos in the MatSu Valley was 6 this time last year. Now it's 2. So proportionally big cut. The number of units that actually sold in this market during the month of November was 2 this time last year. Now it's 6. So yeah, pretty much the inventory and the sold units just pretty much flip-flopped on which was which according to the years there. So that's cool. Last but not least, we see the average sold price had nearly a $60,000 increase because it went from about $115,000 in the month of November all the way up to about $175,000. There's probably some good explanations for this. I'll save it for the summary though. Let's take a break real quick from today's market update. If you are considering selling your property in the MatSu Valley and you're just trying to get a sense for what the selling process looks like and everything you can start doing to really prepare yourself, first, do make sure you check out all the videos that we already have on the channel, kind of walking you through that. Secondly, do feel free to reach out to me at the number down below. You can go ahead and just text that number and we'll send a seller's guide over to you just to kind of show you what the process looks like as you're getting your home ready for the market. So feel free to take advantage of that, and let's finish today's market update. Now in the multifamily market, what we're seeing is the inventory this time last year was 30 and now it's 22. So seeing a little bit of a decrease in the inventory. That's kind of what we see across the board for the entire year though. So nothing really out of the ordinary, at least for the year that we're in. The next thing that we see is that the number of properties that actually sold went from 12 this time last year to 18 this time this year. In November, again, when we have the most accurate information. So that's obviously a pretty big uptick proportionally. We'll save why that probably is in the summary though. Last but not least, average sold price for multifamily properties in the MatSu Valley went from about $472,000 to $525,000 in the month of November, year over date. So that's a pretty big increase there. And let's go ahead and just jump right into the summary right now, and we'll go and start just by looking at the multifamily market. So what we see here is multifamily properties are going to be very popular right now just because interest rates are low and rents are going up. Like, why would you not be getting a multi-family property right now? And yes, prices are going to be up. Interest rates are going to make those very affordable though. And you can actually do the math and see how much more that's going to benefit you as an investor down the road than if you just try to wait for the market to crash, which is hilarious because that's just not in the cards. That's not what we're seeing. But that's the reason that we're going to see that multifamily properties are probably going to continue being really popular. Those that have them don't really want to let them up, give them away, sell them. And so that's why we're seeing the decrease in inventory. That being said though, those that are looking for multifamily properties, you need to make sure that you're actually operating in the environment. You have the strategy that's right for the environment that you're in. The advantage or the opportunity right now is not to just look for a property where you can go, oh, I'm going to undersell them by this much. Why? Like you're operating off of a strategy that worked great back in the 90s, 80s, early 2000s. We're in a hot seller's market. That's just not the reality now. Look for the interest rate, use that, find properties that are under rented, where tenants are paying $800 and realistically they should be paying $1,200, and find the properties that are not being used to their highest and best use according to the zoning. That's where the opportunities are right now. Those are my tips as far as investors go. Now, looking over on the residential and the condo side, we are seeing inventory is taking a bit more of a dip around this time of year than it usually does. That's to kind of be expected though. Actually in Anchorage, what we saw is a dramatic cut in inventory compared to the year before. Not so much inventory is dipping in the MatSu Valley though, which is actually a sign the market is stabilizing. The average sold price is obviously shooting up, which again, if you have those interest rates, it definitely does make sense. So yes, that's I would expect a little bit more of that moving forward. As soon as we get the interest rates start increasing, we're going to see a lot of the demand start pulling back a little bit, and then it's going to be a lot easier to find more properties also, because we do have a lot of sellers that are just deciding they're not even going to look at properties right now because they can't find anything, and so they're not going to sell their property. As soon as the demand starts pulling back and they see more options, then they're probably going to get their property on the market as well, and it's going to help the market out across the board. So I sure hope this has been useful for you. If it has, do make sure you give this video a like. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, do feel free to reach out to me either on Facebook, Instagram, register on my website, or like I said, go ahead and text me at that number right there, and I'll go ahead and respond to you that way as well. Just make sure you put your name in there. I need to actually respond to a person and not just a number. So it was great talking, and we'll catch you next time.